Hello, it's the Winging It F1 podcast. It's the 31st episode. And yes, I am presenting again. So apologies to our listeners and viewers who have to hear
Boo.
me rambling on about stuff that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm with Adam Dickinson. He went on a hike last Saturday with a friend of mine. I heard it was very good. And he found a calculator in the Peak District somewhere by itself. And I'm with Freddie Coates, who's very bitter about not winning the Formula E Talent Call competition. He's been absolutely raving on about it all morning. But enough about that. It's time to talk about some F1 stuff. And let's start with Lance Stroll. Yeah, Lance Stroll tested positive last weekend when he didn't race at the Eiffel Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, but he has tested negative for coronavirus on Monday. So he will be racing this weekend at the Portuguese Grand Prix. I know Freddie is very well. He's an angry man this morning. He's not happy about the FIA allowing Stroll to go outside his bubble and stuff. So Freddie, what are your thoughts on Stroll's on the Stroll situation? There you go.
Yeah. Hello everybody. I'm here. But yeah, it's all a bit weird. It's a bit fishy because yes. So he arrived at the Nürburgring. Everything was fine. He'd been feeling a bit ill since Russia, but he had tested negative, so he arrived at the Nürburgring. Perfectly good, lovely jubbly. But then it comes to Friday night, Saturday, and we have all of the well-documented symptoms of the Lance Stroll illness, and from that he was ushered out of there, not given a test, put on a flight back home to wherever he's living, presumably the UK, and not tested. And then they got a Nico Hulkenberg, and then they were able to compete in the race. And now, since then, he's tested positive for coronavirus. It's all been not publicised until now. And it comes across as very fishy to me that they were kind of sort of dodging tests for the rest of the race team to sort of make sure they were able to race, which is quite reckless, if you ask me. I think it seems like if they had tested Lance Stroll on the Saturday at the track with the facilities they had there, then he probably would have been positive, which they should do. He probably would have been positive considering after he flew home, he tested positive. So what's happened is these people at the track would have then had to have gone to be tested, but they didn't have to do that because they didn't test him there. So they could then bring in Nico Hulkenberg and have two cars in the race and not basically have to restrict the entire team and pull out of the Grand Prix. And I mean, yeah, they finished fourth, were fighting for the podium in eighth. So they got points, but those points because they dodged COVID protocol and even brought in Nico Hulkenberg into the mix and put him at risk as well, despite him not originally being in the bubble. It doesn't sit well with me. It comes across as a little bit haphazard. And Racing Point back in Silverstone wanted to see if they could get Sergio Perez in the car for the second Silverstone race. They were trying to sort of bend a few rules with the UK government for that kind of thing, and it feels like they've tried to be a bit sly again. And the amount of people that have been put at risk of this, I don't know his flying home situation. If he was on a commercial flight, then that's an entire cabin full of people because you're circulating the air through there, so you're circulating coronavirus throughout that entire airplane. Presumably, I mean, chances are he would have tested negative on that morning as well, but we don't know that, and the risk has been taken, and the risk is stupid.
Yeah, so my question is, I'll pass this on to Adam as well. Do you blame the FIA or Racing Point? I forgot to say, are you all right as well to you both, because I forgot not to say that in the intro.
Well, I guess we can't give you a response now.
I'm a lot warmer. I'm not huddled in a blanket. I went to Morrison's and got a nice fluffy thing. It's like a zipper hoodie, but made of dressing gown material. So I'm living the dream right here.
I'm in a fleecy thing too.
Oh, great.
This is a lovely, lovely moment for the audio listeners.
Yeah, my question. Yeah, FIA or Racing Point? who's to blame? Or both?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a bit of both, I guess. Racing Point are the ones, well, it sounds from what I've heard like Racing Point kind of took the matter into their own hands and got Stroll out before the FIA kind of got their gears into action. So I don't know whether I don't know whether it was the case that the FIA said, "Oh yeah, we need to test him on Saturday evening," and they said, "Oh, sorry, we sent him back home," or whatever. And I don't know the situation, whether anything was agreed with them or not. But it kind of, from what I've heard, it feels like Racing Point have taken the situation into their own hands. And I think the issue here is, for them, the worst case scenario is that they don't get to race. It's not that their team gets COVID and they pass that COVID onto half the grid, which isn't really the way it should be. It feels like, they're putting it's we've got to get the car out onto track first, rather than we've got to make sure we're safe and responsible for the sake of the F1 grid and keeping F1 running. And maybe the worst, well, obviously it's good if no one in the F1 paddock does get coronavirus from this. It's if obviously that's good, but in some ways the fact that they have got away with it means that there isn't going to be that same kind of response or condemnation of it, I don't think. And will other teams do it in the future? Will they, if they're in that position, will they point and say, they Racing Point did it, why can't we do it? Or I think the FIA need to issue some kind of warning, or just clarification of, if a driver tests positive on the race weekend, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there was a news story yesterday. Michael Massey, the Formula 1 race director, said that he did not feel that Lance Stroll's illness ahead of the Eiffel Grand Prix exposed any loophole in the FIA's COVID-19 testing protocols, except that they let a guy who had symptoms go on an aeroplane. So,
I don't know if that's a loophole or a loop chasm, or
well, yeah,
but that
loop crater.
Arguably, that loop, chasm, hole, crater, crevasse, whatever we're calling it, is a loophole with the international aeroplane systems. Because if Lance Stroll hasn't come to the track on Saturday, then he's not within the FIA's jurisdiction at all, because he was allowed to come on the Friday because he had tested negative on the Thursday, and that's fine. They can't. That's how they have it. And so if he's not come to the track on the Saturday, then that's outside the FIA's remit, and it's an entirely managed by Racing Point situation. And Racing Point can go to the FIA and say, "Let's get a test for this," and they will say yes, because he's an employee of a team in the championship. But
is it
it's
not the FIA? Yeah, go on.
It's not Racing Point's prerogative to bring him to the track and get him tested and all of that. It's not the FIA's, sorry, they're not their prerogative to force him to be tested at the track. It's Racing Point's to get him tested, and they can keep him away and say, it's okay, he's like isolating over here and he's sorted and he's fine. But he tested negative the other day anyway, but we're just being nice and taking precautions. So that's where it seems a bit like I lend the blame quite to Racing Point rather than the FIA.
Yeah. Okay. I blame the FIA, because for me, he should have been tested straight away, and they definitely have the equipment and stuff to do it. So, plus, he was at the track on the Friday, he would have been in contact with his mechanics and stuff as well, and they wouldn't have been tested either. So, for me, I lay the blame on the FIA in this one.
Yeah, I think the initial blame I put at Racing Point for kind of, as I've said, acting to protect their racing status rather than the health of the paddock and their team. But yeah, I think, do the FIA need to just, clarify the rules? Or because, if you are if you're at a Grand Prix, even if you're not actually at the track, I think the FIA would need to make it clear that you're still kind of you're at the Grand Prix kind of from when you arrive on Thursday to when you leave on Sunday. So, regardless of whether you're actually at the track at that point or not, I think for me, once you're in that bubble, in that paddock, you've arrived there, then you should kind of be under the FIA's jurisdiction from that point, especially at the moment. They should they should be able to, or order someone to have a test if they think the safety of the paddock is at risk.
It's important to note that this is a developing story. It's only been announced this morning that we're recording the podcast. It's Wednesday morning. Lance Stroll only announced about 45 minutes ago on his social media. So there will be more about this. And we've got press conferences tomorrow and Thursday that journalists will put the question to Racing Point, to Safnauer, to Stroll about this. And I think there will be more to come from this, and there might be a few more precautions put into the testing system from the FIA, and a few more maybe sanctions put in towards the teams, I would imagine, the sanction being a fine or something like that, rather than you get coronavirus and could die. But I think they need to just have a complete rethink now with this second wave globally. I think that there is obviously a lot more opportunity for people to be in contact with COVID outside of Formula One, with more weeks off as well.
And I think because we've come back and it's all been fine, and a lot of the world sports have come back, it's maybe not at the forefront of teams' minds so much. I don't know, this is just kind of me projecting onto them really, but it felt in July, it kind of felt like, one positive test could force F1 to shut down, or, governments to shut their doors on it. Whereas now there seems to be kind of more certainty generally about F1. It's not kind of, we know what races there are, and, they all seem to be sorted out that F1 can go there. So I don't know whether it's just kind of less in teams' minds now.
I think my problem is, I'm going to use the word selfish. To me, it's selfish of Lance Stroll and whoever decided for him to go on an aeroplane to have to be ill, have the symptoms, whatever, and to fly to a different country. Because imagine if you got it or I got it. I wouldn't think, my first thought would not be, I'm going to go on an aeroplane and go to a different country.
Lock your door.
So I think it's very selfish of Lance Stroll and whoever went with him or whatever. That's my problem.
Look at the way they dealt with it in McLaren in Australia.
Exactly,
one or two tested positive, and the other 12 or 14 or so mechanics were in hotel rooms for 2 weeks. That's it. Yeah. They had two people who didn't have any contact with anyone stay there and give them things, but these guys weren't allowed outside at all. And actually, there's a really good video they did talking to the mechanics on the McLaren social media on YouTube, which I urge everyone to watch. But that's how they dealt with it. And these guys were at the end of the world in March, middle of March, basically. That was around the Australian Grand Prix weekend was when everything went to pot globally, and they were in Australia for 2 weeks, not knowing if they would be able to get home. But they still took that risk.
Exactly.
Also, didn't they say it was a stomach upset or something? I forget I think
they thought a lot of the symptoms weren't actually COVID. They think the headline I kept seeing was that he was on the loo and he had diarrhea and everything.
Yeah, so that's what I heard.
That's not a public COVID symptom, if you will. It's not one on the NHS website, but he's not in a good state, really.
I just don't know whether to trust it after the symptoms.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're saying this was the case, and I don't know if they I think they explicitly asked, is it COVID? And they said, no, it's a different illness, but I could be wrong on that.
It's just after the Perez stuff as well, and he lied about, we didn't go to Mexico. Well, he did, and stuff like that. Racing Point are not giving themselves a good look for me this year, especially after some of the on-track / off-track stuff.
On the car stuff.
Yeah, the car stuff, exactly. Let's move on to the Portuguese Grand Prix then. It's back on the calendar after about 15, 14 years off it. The Algarve track, it's a brand new one for the teams and drivers. It's going to present a lot of challenges. It should be dry. I think I've not looked at the weather, so
should be.
The teams should be able to get up and running, unlike Nürburgring when there was a few more variables and Friday was called off. Is this a track we like the look of, or is it a bit bland?
I like the look of it. I've not seen racing there on it in the past. I don't kind of follow the series that have raced there, but yeah, from what I've seen, I think when these tracks got announced, this was the one I was most optimistic for kind of staying on. But considering we've already had, good races at the Nürburgring and Mugello, hopefully this will be on that par or above it. It just looked like a good track, and maybe a bit more like the modern track. So whether that will improve overtaking or not, we don't know. But yeah, I'm optimistic for it.
We've had
good point. It's a very wide track. It's a wide and undulating track with lots of blind apexes and everything. So it's a difficult track to master, I think. And I agree with Adam. It does. Of all the tracks, I think, that have popped up this year with their cameo roles, this is probably one that would be most likely to stay on future calendars. I think actually it's been quite seriously touted as a Grand Prix in the past few years anyway, without a pandemic to thrust it into the limelight. So it's got a lot going for it, and this is its chance to shine, I think, on the global stage. And I think it's a brilliant little track. My only experience of it comes from sim games and stuff on my PlayStation. So, I mean, from that, there's a lot of undulation. There was a video Antonio Felix da Costa put up on there from when he drove there, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. And when he was with Red Bull, he did a test demo day there. And the way that wherever the cameraman was stood, just filming it from a phone or something, he was going up and down and all around just because the track was basically on the most hilly region of Portugal. It's going to be really quite a roller coaster of a track, I think. Similar to one of the ones you get in the backwaters of Japan, like a Sugo.
It's going to rain there today, but it's going to be sunny all weekend, about 20 degrees.
That's all right. It's a brand new track.
The weatherman there, using his journalism weather skills.
Yeah. I just looked out the window and used a telescope.
Can't tell what's like here.
Yeah. I've seen some GT racing there, and like you said, Freddie, it is a very wide track. And I think one of the things that will help F1 is that you can take a few different lines through the corners. I think it could be similar to Silverstone, perhaps. You can take a few different lines, especially in the first sector there. So that should be all good for some good racing. Yes, Mercedes should be at the front, but behind that, it could be pretty mad. Do we think F1 needs a Portuguese Grand Prix, or is it one of those countries where you think, I'm not really bothered if they go there, or
I don't think it needs it particularly. I don't think there's many countries that it needs a race in. Probably America's the big one, but
America,
as a
UK,
track, it needs good tracks, and if Portimao is a good track and Portugal's not a country run by a dictator or a human rights abuser, then it's a yes from me.
I can only second that. Portugal's a really nice place.
Yeah. Have you been?
I went when I was 5, and I had a good time. Crazy Portugal, hitting the decks with a 5-year-old me, going crazy. My cousin lost his tooth on a banana boat. Get down with it.
Wow. Have you been to Portugal, Adam?
No, I've not. I've been to
Same. I've not.
Spain, but never made it anywhere near the border. Yeah. Freddie's antics scared me off.
Yeah, I'm not back in.
Yes, there's a list of countries Freddie is not allowed in. Portugal is on the list. There's
actually a shorter list of countries that Freddie is allowed in. Anyway.
There goes my hope of being Michael Palin.
Well, we might not even be allowed anywhere with tier 3. But,
Yeah, we're in tier 3, podcast listener and viewers.
Yes.
Oh, we're actually in it now.
What tier are you in?
Well, we're not in tier 3 yet. We're in tier 3 as of Saturday morning. So when Free Practice 3 airs, we will be in tier 3 and won't be allowed to go to Portugal.
I'm expecting a big lightning bolt to, big flash of lightning when it goes to tier 3.
Yeah, definitely. That's how it works. That's what's going to happen.
Like in Fortnite, when the storm comes across, you get that purple line going across the screen, expecting something like that just across the whole of Sheffield.
Or in a storm.
Sorry, Nigel, we cut off what you...
Man, that's great, isn't it? Sorry for our listeners and viewers there. You just heard the word Fortnite in the Winging It F1 podcast, so you would have thought that. You can thank Adam for that one.
Who would have thought that? This is brilliant quality.
Moving on. Yeah, what's your favourite Portuguese F1 moment, guys? If we've got one.
There was, I can't remember who, was it Berger? Or we're kind of coming out the pits. He's coming out the pit and he just lights up. It feels like something I'd do in like project cars, and he just lights up the rear wheel. So there's like 3 cars coming through. I think Derek Warwick was in the train, and so they're like following that on the kind of right hand side of the track as you look at it on the screen. Pit lane's on the left, that you can't really see the pit exit, and then you just see the car kind of come sliding across the front of them, and like he didn't hit any of the other ones in the train, but it's just like, yeah, such a brilliant moment.
Yeah, 1993 when he was with Ferrari, it was quite an embarrassing little spin for him because he'd just come out of the pits, he's on cold tyres, he floored it and just went up, down, and that was it. Just straight across into the wall.
I don't think they have pit lane speed limits then as well. I think
they didn't, no. They didn't have pit lane speed limits, so he would have just absolutely floored it. Would have got onto the kind of dirtier part of the track maybe when he came out, and just his rears lit up and he flew across the track. And Adam was right. If you watch the sort of it pops up every now and again on a social media video on Twitter or Instagram from F1, because it is quite a comical bit of footage where he just sort of just goes straight from one side across to the other. And then they're like, oh, look, there's a Ferrari crashed. Where did that come from? And it's amazing.
Also because you don't kind of see the start of the spin because it's focusing on the battle on the other side of the track. So you see these cars coming through, and then you basically just see a car going perpendicular to that, just kind of driving, back to front across the width of the track. It's like, and then, yeah, it's a brilliant moment. Nigel, what's your favourite?
I don't know. I think Niki Lauda won his 3rd and final World Championship at Portugal by half a point. I think he got 2nd or 3rd in the race, which was just enough to win the championship. And I love Niki Lauda. He's one of my favourite F1 drivers of all time. So I think
it was an insane race. That one. He dropped pretty much the back because he got an awful start and then fought his way through. And it was basically that year was Prost versus Lauda, which was the professor versus the predecessor, which is basically Lauda was basically Prost before Prost was. And they both, getting the points they needed all the way through. And it was half a point in it, and it was only half a point because of the 1984 Monaco Grand Prix having been cancelled halfway through due to the rain, the one which Senna allegedly announced himself to F1 on. So yes,
he was robbed of the win.
Stefan Beloff was robbed of the win, and who was going faster than the two of them in his Tyrrell, and which actually would have been disqualified the year later because that Tyrrell was disqualified for something for the whole year. So Martin Brundle had his first podium taken off him as well. Anyway, that's enough about the 1984 F1 season.
What's your favourite moment, Freddie?
My favourite moment, I don't know. I quite like David Coulthard's first win. I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool for him.
Oh, I thought of one. Senna and Prost side by side down the pit straight.
That made them very angry.
Yeah. There's another one. Instead of Senna's first win, Senna's kind of leading Prost down the pit straight, and then it looked like he's about to move out, and then he just kind of spins on the spot and goes into the wall and batters his front wing, rear wing in.
Doesn't sound that nice, actually.
The one that it's quite low speed or whatever. It's not, taps it, but just enough to put him out. The one I might actually go for is it's like the least important moment in F1, but it's just funny. Mauro Baldi retired in the 1985 Portuguese Grand Prix, like in the middle of the track. So he kind of climbs out and runs over, and he kind of sprints at the barrier and tries to hurdle it. And he clears the barrier, but then there's like something on the other side, like a slope on the other side. It's not just flat. so he can't even put his foot down and falls over backwards.
You did that on your hike on Saturday, didn't you, Adam?
No, I was all right. Managed to survive.
Right, it's time for a quiz. I'm doing it, so that's good. It's going to be boring, as usual. It's Freddie versus Adam, because I'm doing the quiz, so that makes sense.
Nigel's a really bad hype man for this podcast.
Yeah. I'm really not...
It's going to be boring.
Great.
Turn off.
Going to go down to the wire.
Go away. Don't watch the podcast.
No,
Don't listen to it. How are you, actually? I forgot to ask. I don't care.
I use up all my hype in the introductions.
He uses all his hype on Albon and then has nothing left for anyone.
He's so
not
energetic
talking about him today.
Albon. He's so energetic when he talks about Albon. And then when it comes to doing the quiz, he's like, no, I'm not going to ask questions unless they can be about why Albon's bad.
Which we all know
What result did Albon finish? A bad one. Correct.
These questions would still be better than Freddie's Nürburgring tiebreaker. Still not over it.
I can't remember it.
I'm over it.
Anyway, let's get on with it because we're going to lose listeners and viewers because we've got 1,000. We've got 1,000 listeners, which is great. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you for everyone who's been listening to the podcast over the last few months. We really, really appreciate it.
We really do. It's really good of you. Thank you very much for taking the chunk of time out of your lives to listen to us absolutely ramble about complete, weird, who knows what, everything that comes to
Hopefully
our mind.
F1.
Hopefully
but,
F1. Sometimes it's F1, but you can never tell.
All right, question one. What time is it in Portugal?
Adam.
Oh,
What, now?
Yes.
This is an issue because I don't know the time here.
I'll just look it up. Give me a second.
No. You can't look it up, Rob. What's the point of the quiz?
10:07.
No, that's wrong. Ready?
12:07.
No, that's wrong as well. Adam.
11:07.
Yes,
No. 9:07.
Freddie, 11:07.
Yes, it's 11:07. Yeah.
It's the same as
time
here.
as the UK. Yeah.
What? But it's not in the UK.
I thought that was an easy question, but
Clearly not.
Clearly, we don't know anything about Portugal.
Good thing I didn't say what was the capital of Portugal because Freddie would have got that one wrong as well. Right. Question two is what is the name? What's the name? What's the name of another racetrack in Portugal that isn't Algarve? Adam.
Estoril.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm not.
It is right.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, that is right. It would be good if I put the answers.
It's good if you think they're right, Nigel. The quizmaster.
That's 1-1. Question 3 is: when was the last Portuguese Grand Prix?
Adam.
Ready?
Oh.
1996.
It was 1996, and it was won by Jacques Villeneuve, who became champion that year.
He's the reigning Portuguese Grand Prix champion. So will he defend his title this year? Probably not.
He didn't become champion that year. Damon Hill did.
Sorry, he didn't become champion that year. That's right. He won it in 97.
Yeah.
I should know that.
I can confirm.
The next question is, how many times has a Portuguese driver been on the podium in Formula 1?
Ready?
Frederick.
Once. Thiago Monteiro at the Indy race in 2005.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Jordan team.
Yeah.
So.
And he was so happy.
Yeah.
Yes, all those Michelin runners couldn't race. I've got a podium in not owned by Jordan.
That's 2-2, or choo-choo, as I like to say. No, that was bad. What does the Algarve track have to do with Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and
Adam? Freddie. Oh, my God.
Adam.
In the first episode of the Grand Tour, they went there to film the Holy Trinity of
Yeah, they did.
supercars, hypercars.
We definitely didn't know about that question before the podcast.
We knew that question was coming up because Nigel says, has anyone got any questions I can do for this quiz that you guys have both got to answer? And I jokingly said, what did the Grand Tour do at the Algarve circuit? And He says, "Oh, damn, that's actually a question." I was like, "What?" I said that as a joke, and now it's actually a question, and I didn't even get it.
Yeah, and now I got it. Wahaha.
Yeah. It's
Very
3-2. Now,
10 quid.
I'm going to warn you both not to get angry over the next 3 questions.
No.
So,
Okay.
here we go. Have Portugal ever qualified for the Rugby World Cup?
Adam.
Freddie.
Adam.
Yes.
What year? Actually, no, that's horrible. No. I'll give you the point.
I'll take a guess. Was it it might have been for 07?
Oh, we got it right. Oh, 1 point.
Yes.
I was about to say no in every year.
Yeah, I think that's the only time they have qualified for the Rugby World Cup. Rugby Union World Cup, that is. So if you're a Rugby League fan, please don't attack me, even though I am from the north, so I should like Rugby League. I don't. Name a Portuguese person who won a major championship this year.
In anything?
In life?
in tennis?
In Monopoly?
I'll repeat the question. Name a Portuguese person who won a major championship this year.
Freddie.
Adam.
Freddie.
Antonio Felix da Costa.
Yes, there we go.
I was going to say Cristiano Ronaldo.
Guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the Football World Championship.
Yeah.
I don't. What's the
GG,
score?
Freddie.
What's the score?
3-all.
3-all.
I think. No. I think it's 4-3.
What question are you on? You can work it
Wrong
out.
question 8. It was 4-3.
Yeah, it's 4-3
to Adam. Yeah, 4-3 to Adam. I knew that. Who is the only Portuguese cycling world champion?
Oh, come on.
Adam.
Rui Costa.
Yes. Good lad. What year?
1986.
2013, yeah. 2013. I think that was in Italy. No, Spain.
No, it's the world. So it was a world champion.
Somewhere. I can't remember.
I remember it was raining and the attack was like a kilometre to go. It was a good race.
Yeah. Was the underdog.
Then
he had a rubber season afterwards, so we'll leave him out.
Going to win.
It's 5-3 to Adam, so Freddie has to get these last 2 questions right to force me to Google a question. How many times has the pole sitter led after lap 1 in Formula 1 this year?
Freddie.
Adam.
I think Freddie just got in there first.
It's probably good because I didn't actually have an answer ready.
7.
That's great. No, it's not 7.
It's
been 11 races.
10.
It is 10. 10 out of the 11.
Mugello, the only one not to.
Yeah, Magello's the only one. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Incredible.
Well done, Adam, on the quiz.
Yeah.
We'll
got one more question, though.
We've got one more.
It was a 4-3 question as well. So.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Final question is, how many different drivers have done the fastest lap of the race this year in Formula 1, obviously? It's a
Ready. Is that like at the end of the race or just set a fastest lap at some point in the race?
The fastest lap of the race.
Okay.
Freddie.
All right. Chill out.
5.
Oh, it's close. It's not right.
Damn.
Adam, I'll go a bit higher. I'll go 6.
Oh, it's 6. It is 6. Yeah.
So is that
can
Ricardo, Sainz, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen?
Yep.
Don't know the last one.
You know, Freddie?
Norris? I don't know.
Yeah, Norris. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
I didn't know Sainz got it.
Austria too.
Oh, yeah.
So, Adam has won the quiz. Freddie lost.
Redemption.
6-3 was the not 6-3. There's 10 questions. 7. No, 6-4. Yeah, 6-4. Yeah, 6-4. That's the end of the quiz for this week. We'll be back next week or maybe the week after for another quiz. Well, now we're going to talk about some predictions for the Portuguese Grand Prix this weekend.
So much power with this format, Nigel.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Just like next time you host, you're going to put the quiz at the beginning, and you're going to be like, then at the end, you're going to say, so we're at this Grand Prix this week after we've already given our predictions for it, and it's going to be all over the place.
Correct.
Yep.
So we get a point.
Who's going to win this weekend?
Hamilton.
Bottas.
Squeaky Bottas. Okay.
Squeaky Bottas.
Squeaky Bottas.
Who's the squeakiest driver on the grid?
Lando Norris.
Definitely Norris. 100%.
Definitely Norris. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could be a crazy one, but I kind of just don't
I
think.
think Verstappen is going to win this weekend, I reckon.
Ooh.
Because Mercedes, Red Bull are going to start catching up to Mercedes since Mercedes stopped developing their car in June, just before the season started. and yeah, Red Bull, we're going to catch up. We'll think, we finally caught them. We're going to beat them next year. And then Mercedes come out with their new car.
Literal hype.
And then it repeats again, and it's going to keep happening. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Verstappen nearly got pole, didn't he, in the Nürburgring? So, if you look at the track on face value, there's quite a few similar corners.
Yeah. I think something I should say, and I'm going to apologise, because I think a few weeks ago I made a mistake by having a really bad rant at the engine modes. And I think the engine modes haven't actually had as much of an effect as I first thought. I think it was after Monza. And the racing has still been pretty good. It hasn't made that much of a difference. So that's a good thing
really
for F1.
noted.
Yeah, I think people forgot about the engine mode thing, actually.
Yeah.
Well done for
I
getting that
think
off your
it's what-
chest, Nigel.
Yeah,
It's been harder for you to say.
It wasn't really.
Oh, okay.
I think Red Bull are also a bit closer to Mercedes in qualifying as well because of the engine mode as well, because they have to use the same thing. I think that's something I've noticed. Unless, like I said, Mercedes have just decided to make it a bit more exciting for the viewers. Have you guys got any thoughts on the engine mode things?
I don't think Mercedes has decided to make it more exciting for the viewers. I think the only way they're going to do that is if they're saying if they're going to just be like, go and overtake him now, do it, whatever, we don't care, and then see what happens. But I think you're right about that. I think the biggest engine mode issue was the Monza race, because it looked like they couldn't use any engine modes to overtake in such a low drag setup. We've had quite a few higher downforce tracks, which means the DRS is a bit more powerful anyway. And so I think it will be interesting to see when we get to somewhere like Bahrain, or Abu Dhabi, perhaps, where slipstreamy overtakes are a bit more the norm, whether they will actually happen as much as they have done in recent years. It's still on the table for me.
Yeah, I went off tangent there.
No, that's all right. It's interesting.
I can go off a tangent a bit more.
Go on.
With a little fun fact from the Eiffel
Brace
Grand
yourselves,
Prix
audience.
is that Hamilton was the only driver to finish in his championship position.
Wow, it's really fun.
I know.
Did you get
and a
like
fact.
a party? It's all right. As a fact.
Completely gobsmacked Nigel. He's completely speechless.
He's trying to think of a race where everyone finished in their championship position, and don't say
Mugello.
the first race.
Mugello, 5 of the top 6 finished in the championship, and 6 of the top 8.
Wow. Where's Adam getting these stats from here? This is quite...
Just drawing them out of my mind.
He bought some A3 paper the other day, and he's been writing it all out. He's not bought some A3 paper.
If any listeners have got A3 paper, can you send them to Sheffield?
No, send it to the Peak District, and Adam will go and hike up there every Saturday. That's what he'll do. I don't know what
happened on this hike that Nigel seems to want to know so much about.
Yeah.
I know everything.
A bit confused about that. Should we wrap it up?
Do you think there's going to be a surprise podium or any surprises?
No, I think it'll be I think that doesn't mean it'll be a bad race, but I think in terms of finishing order on the podium, I don't think there'll be a surprise.
All right.
I think Verstappen will come second.
All right, that's good. Hamilton has to break the record, doesn't he, to win?
He does. He has to win to break the record.
Yes, to win. Yeah, sorry. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
92 wins. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's weird that equaling the record was such a big thing.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I thought breaking it would be kind of the bigger thing, because in general in records, then it's kind of like, the person who set it first is a bit, normally held a bit higher than breaking it. That's the big thing. But
I think, like you say, the you just said there, the person holding the record is held in a bit of a higher regard. I think that just speaks of how high the regard for Schumacher is in Formula One, and the fact that Hamilton is now as good as Schumacher, rather than people saying better than Schumacher. People can say, wow, this guy is legitimately as good as Schumacher, who is, everyone's revered so much. Then that's got to be such a big deal for him and for the teams and everyone to watch that and go, wow, this guy is as good as this mythical Michael Schumacher. And now it's wow, this guy is better than Michael Schumacher. I think both deserve praise. But yeah, I agree with you. Breaking the record's a massive thing as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a bit strange.
Yeah, I think it's strange as well, Adam. I completely agree.
Oh, well.
I've been waiting for it for ages because there was a chance he could have done it in Mugello if he had had it. Well, even in Monza if he had had a bit more of a perfect run. So he's been knocking on the door of it for a long time. But I think they want to get the PR push out. To be honest.
Yeah, good point. So that's the end of the podcast. Then it's I've presented 2 times in a row, so luckily I won't have to present the next 5 weeks, which our audience will be very happy about because we just don't know where these podcasts are going to go. Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday or Monday after the race, which will be a good one. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be a good one. Oh, all right, that's good. I'll watch it then. All right. Bye.